Okay. I'm going to give you 5 example problems of proofs. And if you look here, complete the proofs using most appropriate method. And some of them are going to be CPCTC. Remember to look at what you're solving for. So these two are triangles. So you're not going to use CPCTC. Not going to use it. But on these problems, I'm looking for an angle, so I will use CPCTC, right? I'm looking for a side, I'll use CPCTC. And that'll be my last step. I went ahead and filled in all the givens just to save time. Because you should know how to do that, right? This is given, I rewrote it. This is given, I rewrote it. And wrote my reason as given. So now I need to look at my triangle and see what I've got. Well, I've got an angle and a side. And I could show it with either one, but in my triangle I can see that I've got these angles right here, right? So these are going to be angle ACB, right? And angle DCE. And if you just told me angle C and angle C, you've got it right, but you don't have it all the way right. Okay? You're almost there. And those are called vertical angles because they meet at a vertex. Then I've got 2 angles, one side, so I can either use angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side. Let's look and see. Angle A and D. And the side I have is BC and CE. So that's going to be angle, angle, side. And I'm done. I can write what I wanted to prove. Alright. Next, you've got another one you can look at. This time we're trying to solve for 2 triangles, show that they're the same. And all I've got to do, I've got one side and one angle. So let's see what else there is. If I look over here, remember that if you have a triangle like this, I'm talking about this triangle and this triangle. It looks like I'd solve for this one in the middle, but I'm looking at 2 bigger triangles altogether. And then the side that's in both of those triangles, we should be able to see is this, right? And that would be the reflexive property, because it's in both triangles. And then we're done, right? We just got to say our triangles are congruent and tell what property we used. That's going to be by side, angle, side. Because I've got 2 sides, 1 angle. I do need to make sure the angle's in between them. K, M, perfect. Okay, here we've got a midpoint. That's what everybody's so confused on, is the midpoints of the parallel lines, right? Midpoint and bisectors work exactly the same, except for midpoints are only for lines. Bisectors can be for lines or for angles. Once again, I wrote down all my givens. I'm going to move on. Let's use this midpoint I did, because they've given it to me, I have to use the midpoint. So something is true by definition of midpoint. So if I look up here, ST is done there by U. So there are my 2 congruent things. Right. Let's see. So now I have a side, and a side. Makes it pretty easy. And now I've got that the triangles are congruent. But that isn't what they asked me to show. They asked me to show that the angles are congruent. So I have to come in here and use CPCTC. And that's going to tell me that my angles are congruent. And all this is remember, if I have triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, then angle A would be congruent to angle D. And side AB would be congruent to side DE. That's what CPCTC tells me, right? So if I was asked for an angle, I'm always going to end with CPCTC, or a side. Next one, I've got two sets of parallel lines, so this is one of those that's a little bit harder. Let's go ahead and extend these parallel lines to make it easier to see. And then I've got this transversal right here, right? So this is in between this parallel line and the one between it, and it's on either side of my transversal. That makes them alternate interior angles. And see, I have another set of alternate interior angles because I have another set of parallel lines. I'm going to have this one and the one that's on the other side there, this one. And let's name those angles. This was PMO. That's congruent to MON. And the other one is going to be NMO. And that's going to be congruent to MOP. Now notice, this is angle O and this is angle O, but the difference is what angle it is, right? This is MON, this is MOP, so they're two different angles. That's the reason it's important that I label out it's not just angle O, right? So now I've got two angles, and there's a nice side right here, everybody's favorite property. MO is congruent to itself. If you don't remember reflexive property, I can see it in the mirror, it's reflexive, right? That's going to be a side. So now I have to decide between angle, angle, side, or angle, side, angle. Let's look. Here's the two angles here, and this side is in between them. So I'm going to end up with angle, side, angle. My triangles are congruent. POM is congruent to N and P have to be the same, right? NOM. Sorry. This angle O is like this angle M, right? They switch, so these have to switch. And now that I've got my triangles are congruent, I can get what I was initially looking for, that they've got congruent sides. And that is always CPCTC. Then the last thing we've got is going to be this number 11 I've got. I've got two triangles, and I've got parallel lines again. Okay, so let's go ahead and use the idea of parallel lines and look at it. Sorry about that. Hopefully the intercom won't come on again. The parallel lines, right? That says ED and FG are parallel. That would make this the transversal. So this one and this one would be in the same spot, which would make them corresponding. And that would be angle D, because that's the only angle D. But I have to name angle F, because this is angle F and this is angle F. GFH. So now I've got one side and two angles again. Let's label this angle that they gave us. DEF, that's going to be this one and this one. And the side they gave us is DE. So we've got angle, side, angle again, right? Okay, and that told me that my triangles were congruent. And since the triangles are congruent, I know that the angles are congruent. And that is CPCTC. Good luck on the test.